Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Another episode of Bitcoin in real life. In this episode here, I'm going to talk about an experience I had recently, and it does concern Ethereum. And I'll tell you more about it in just a little bit. But you know, uh, I I I had well so far to date. I haven't had anybody ask me about Ethereum. I haven't had anybody talk to me about Ethereum, or anybody offer me to sell me Ethereum or whatever. Nothing like that in real life. Like I see a lot of videos, I see some articles, that kind of stuff, but that's all virtual, and virtual reality and physical reality, they don't always they don't always match up. Although I've said, one and the other, they're one and the same, but there could be times where if it doesn't match up, there's something wrong here. There's something strange. Usually your virtual and your physical reality are essentially one and the same. But when I look at this a little bit closer, the the virtual and the physical don't quite match up, and I find that very odd. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about, and some of the things I'm doing with Bitcoin now, and some other things. But um, anyways, I actually had one of my miners ask me if I can get Ethereum, and because he knows that I trade on all the various exchanges, and I'm not sure why he wanted to know if I can get Ethereum or not, but I was more than happy to tell him all the exchanges. And as of recent, apparently Coinbase is offering Ethereum or Ether on their exchange, which they changed the name to Global Digital Assets. I don't know. I don't even trade on that thing, so I don't even deal with Coinbase because it's strange. They want you to buy Bitcoins and sell them Bitcoins, and then when you actually go and do that, they don't want you to do that anymore. you know, they're like, whoa, whoa, you're buying way too much, or whoa, whoa, you're selling way too much. Um, it's kind of weird. Um, the Coinbase part, the exchange part, I haven't even done because of their Coinbase, the retail Coinbase, their wannabe banking, Coinbase business. Um, so I just decided not to use them because one time I bought a good batch, like two over their limit. I bought like $3,000 or $4,000 worth of Bitcoin when the price was low, and I waited for a week, and then I get an email from them saying, "Oh, we wanted to protect you because we didn't think you really wanted those Bitcoins at those low prices." Because what happened, I waited for a week, and the price went up, and where I would have made money. And I get an email saying, "Oh, sorry, we don't think you wanted those Bitcoins at the low price, so we canceled your request for that order for Bitcoins." And so ever since then, I've never ever went back to their site again. I still have some Bitcoins there, some small amount. I should probably take it out, but let's see if they'll let me back in after all this time. But that's why I never went back to Coinbase. And on top of that, you know, I would just constantly have issues with getting linking my bank accounts to Coinbase constantly. It was almost like, after one after another, um, they would somehow fuck up the whole process. And also, I've heard that they're now double charging or overcharging or just charging their user base on orders that they never did, or they double charge. So, um, anyways, you know, my personal feelings on Coinbase is that they're not really worth my time and effort to really do anything with them. So, I don't know. It seems like they're a good company to be a customer of, but until you actually experience what I've experienced, um, they're actually not a very good company. So that's just my opinion. Anyways, back to the story. So he's asking me about, my miner's asking me about Ethereum, and it's kind of weird because this is the person that I buy Bitcoins from, right? And he's asking me if I can get Ethereum. I was like, okay, this is interesting. Let's talk about this because I've wondered when that was going to happen, and it happened. And so we got to talking, and apparently, I guess some people are approaching him about Ethereum, or even he might be interested in Ethereum because a lot of the things he hears about Ethereum, the haters of Ethereum, there's people who hate Ethereum. I don't hate Ethereum. Um, my position is, and it's like this with anything. Okay, it's not just Ethereum or any other cryptocurrency. It's everything like what I do in real life for the most part. Is if there's something new, and I often do this with technology because what I've noticed about technology is that especially when it's new and unproven, um, there's a good chance it will not be adopted. It doesn't mean that it's not good. It's just that the adoption and the use will not proliferate its a rise. Okay, and so technology, I usually wait a while, or a new company that comes into existence, whatever they're offering, I'll usually wait for a while, and typically I'll wait 3 years. I'll hear about it, but I won't really do anything. I'll pay attention, but 3 years is what I usually wait for, and if whatever it is, if it's still around, then I'll take an interest in it. I won't do anything, but I'll pay more attention to it. I'll do a little bit more research. Then after the 5th year, if they're still around, and by that time I've probably been researching it, watching it for the 2 years of that time, then I would consider doing something with it, actually doing something with it, purchasing it and using it or somehow obtaining it. In this particular case, if it was Ethereum, I would probably mine for them. If anything, I wouldn't necessarily buy them. I would mine them because apparently they seem to be real easier to mine than Bitcoin. And right now they're at I believe they're at a proof of work right now. And I had a whole discussion with my miner about proof of work, proof of stake, and I get a better understanding. So Ethereum mining is a proof of stake, will be a proof of stake in the future, but a proof of work right now. And there's some evidence of that. There's evidence that Bitcoin miners are now mining Ethereum, and so there's some transition into that. But as that makes sense to me, the proof of work part. But then when you start talking about the proof of stake, where in order for you to continue mining, when it changes to proof of work to proof of stake, the proof of stake is you have to have Ether in order to mine Ether. And it's not about, proof of work anymore. It's just proof of stake, meaning how much Ether you have. And then based on how much Ether you have is based on how much Ether you will receive. And my issue or my concern with Ethereum is this concept that you will continuously be receiving Ether on a proof of stake based on how much you have. So you're getting a self-feeding loop here if you want to continue to mine or receive Ether when they go to a proof of stake. So basically, you can never really use if you want to maintain your mining operation on a proof of stake, you can never really use your ethers if you want to maintain your mining operation. Um, of course, you're not really mining, from what I understand after talking to my miner. What you're really doing is just running a node, and how much ether you have is basically how much new ethers you will receive based on a percentage of overall ethers that everyone else has that are running nodes, etc., etc. I got a better understanding now, this whole concept of how Ethereum is going to work, and my conclusion right now, unless someone enlightens me, and if there's anybody out there who can enlighten me a little bit more than what I already know, please do write a comment or make a video response or something. But to maintain your mining, quote-unquote, mining operation and proof of stake, or to receive that same percentage of ether on a proof of stake, you have to keep holding on to your ethers. You can't use your ether. And that's I don't know how that's going to work out, because as more people, if you get rid of those ethers and you're running a node, then you're going to receive less new ethers if you use them. So you have to, in order to maintain the amount that you're going to receive, you have to continually keep or hold on or reinvest into your node operation or mining operation or whatever, just to get the same as far as percentage of what's outstanding versus other nodes or other people who are mining. I hope this makes sense, what I'm saying. What I think is happening, there's a couple things for the reason for I think Ether is really taking a rise. One thing is probably the whole debate of the block size. A lot of Bitcoiners are becoming Ethereans. I guess I don't know what to call them. I guess we can call them Ethereans. I've heard the term Ethereumers, but I think that's a little weird sounding. I think, if you want to be known for having Ethereum and using Ethereum, you want to be called an Etherean. So from now on, I'll just refer to people who are really big believers in Ethereum, Ethereans. So I think a lot of the Ethereans are former Bitcoiners, and I think they became Ethereans because they were upset or disenfranchised from the whole block size debate and the transaction times. And this is their way of basically, making their statement that, if they're not happy with the Bitcoin developers, and this is their way of letting them know that they're going to go somewhere else, and they're going to go to the Ethereum blockchain. They're going to become Ethereans. And also the mining portion of it could be another issue where I've heard it's becoming centralized, and a lot of the smaller mining operations may not be able to mine Bitcoins as difficulty increases and the centralization of mining starts happening. I don't know how true that statement is. Anybody can go ahead and mine Bitcoins. You still can. Now, whether you receive Bitcoins or not, that's a whole nother story. But anybody can start mining. Now, how the chances of you getting one, you'd have to start a really large operation, which I think that's what they're calling centralizing. But it's not really centralizing because there's multiple large mining facilities going on all over the world. So it's become concentrated based on the economy of scale, but I wouldn't say it's centralized. I think some of that's just being thrown around to scare people. But I could see miners who aren't as big maybe trying to mine Ethereum, and that's how they became Ethereans. That's another thing because of the Bitcoin halving. And the other thing is, this is just going to be true in anything, in whatever situation. There are just people who are just trendies. They just jump on the bandwagon. Whatever's moving up, whatever they think they're gonna make money, or there's some incentive for them to be there, they're just gonna jump on it. And then when the incentive is gone, they're gonna leave. They're gonna abandon ship. They're just there for their own purpose, their own needs, and when their needs and their own purpose aren't met, just like kind of like how Bitcoin didn't meet the needs and purpose of people who were using Bitcoin, they left. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can. So I think there's a lot of that going on, and then the whole FOMO, fear of missing out. Um, Again, and the reason why I say a lot of people who are Ethereans are former Bitcoiners is because I'm looking at all the various exchanges, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of US dollar to a Ethereum transaction going on compared to Bitcoin to Ethereum transaction going on. There's a lot more Bitcoin to Ethereum transaction trades going on than any fiat currency to Ethereum. So you're looking at people who have Bitcoin that are trading into Ethereum. So there's really no new money there. Okay, there's no value being transferred. All right, there's just value from Bitcoin transferred into Ethereum. Um, so that's why I think a lot of what's going on are just former Bitcoiners who are probably feel disenfranchised with what's going on in the Bitcoin community and becoming an Etherean. So, anyways, if I ever do get into Ethereum, I wouldn't buy Ethereum. I wouldn't trade my Bitcoin for Ethereum. What I would do is I would take my fiat currency and start mining for Ethereum. Right now, if it's a proof of work, and I would trade my Ether coins for Bitcoin because I know that there's value in that. And so that's just me. But I think a lot of Bitcoin miners or former Bitcoin miners are gonna, or people who are mining in general, are gonna start jumping on the bandwagon of mining for Ethereum because what they're gonna do? They're gonna do the same thing that what they're doing with Bitcoin. They're gonna be trying to sell it to keep their mining operation going, especially when the halving starts. So I think the halving it's going to affect all cryptocurrencies, because it could be an opportunity for miners who can't mine anymore after the halving will mine other coins. Now, whether they actually do anything with these other coins or not, I'm not sure, but I know one thing, there's always an option to basically go back, sell their whatever altcoin to get Bitcoin because they know they can use that. That's more liquid. Another option is a lot of these other exchanges now are offering Ether to US dollar trades now. So you could probably see people trying to sell their Ethers to pay for their operations, their mining operation. Because right now, I just don't see a lot of physical world liquidity in Ether coins. So, anyways, so and another thing we talked about, I talked about with my miner was this DOA, I believe. Some people pronounce it as DAO. I'll just say DUA, because so far the DUA hasn't done nothing. Oh goodness. You like that? You like that play on words? The DUA hasn't done nothing. So far the crowd sale for this DUA, which hasn't done a nothing, basically doesn't even make a product. It's basically you're investing into a virtual machine that supposedly will produce its own tokens, in which you can now somewhat do smart contracts to fund, or where it would be uh, an autonomous um, thing that once it reaches a certain funding point, that it'll execute by its own. You know, whether and you have a chance to vote on it based on the tokens you receive from the DUA that doesn't do anything yet. Um, so, talking with my miner has, I've heard of it, I've seen the articles, I've watched a lot of videos, but actually talking to, you know, my miner, who is, I believe he's very computer savvy, and he probably understands it, and he even admitted some of the things about the whole Ethereum and the DUA, the DOA, that got 150 million crowdfunding. Even then, he's not even sure what the hell it does, or even how to use it. So if he doesn't, and you know, I'm just a humble user of technology. I'm not an inventor or a creator or a visionary of any grand magnitude. I probably won't understand it. If I don't understand it, I'm not gonna invest in it. I'm not gonna put time in it. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna do shit with it. But I will. Here's what I will do. I'll just watch other people and see what they do, and if they can make it a viable, usable, platform that I can understand, then I will. So my message to all the Ethereans out there is you need to do something with these Ethereum ethers, okay? So when you all start doing something with the DUA that doesn't right now do anything um, you know, that's when I'll get involved. That's when I'll really start looking, and then, but until then, I'm just gonna sit on the sidelines and just watch it unfold and see how it comes. I'm not gonna say anything positive or anything bad about it. I'm just saying what I know and my opinion on it. Okay, um, it's worth talking about because my Bitcoin miner is the first person ever to ask me about it. Now, all the people who I sell to, my buyers, they haven't said shit. And on top of that, if I ask them about Ether, they probably won't know anything about it or what to do with it. So right now, for me, there's no real world, physical world, practical use for Ether coins or Ethereum. So I don't know what to do. My only thing to do right now is just stand on the sidelines and watch, and just try to do more research, try to get a better understanding. Because if I don't understand it, I'm not going to get involved. So when I got into Bitcoin, at least I could understand, how it works, how I can use it, and how it would benefit me. So that's why I'm involved in Bitcoin and some other stuff, of course. So, anyways, I told him, there's other places, and I guess he had some people ask him about Ether coins, and he was telling me these people just have money, they just want to throw something into what's hot. Again, when I see that and when I hear that, that's a red flag for me. People just jumping on the bandwagon just to jump on it, just because they see something rise in value, they're going to jump on it, because you can see that, and I'm a little concerned, but I'm not anyone's parent. Well, I am someone's parent, but um, I'm not here to babysit any other people's investments. But I'm just concerned because I've seen this before. First time I've seen it, first time I started realizing was a dot-com bubble. Anybody remember that? There was a lot of hype in the whole internet back then, and people were just throwing money into things. Uh, some of the companies that survived from it. I mean, if you look at Yahoo, Yahoo has not done very well. What other ones? Gosh, it's hard to remember. Some of you could tell that a lot of companies didn't make it out of that whole era. Um, and ironically, the most successful or well-known internet company, Google, didn't do anything or wasn't really a part of that whole thing until after it crashed. They came after the crash of the dot-com, and they became very popular. They took over after that because they actually had something real. And so, and then after that, shortly, we had the housing, bubble. People just start borrowing money because they saw the housing price go up. And then guess who made all that money on the borrowed money? Guess who made the money? It definitely wasn't the homeowners. There were some. I was one of them. But the bankers made all the money, and guess who they left the debt to? The homeowners. And then on top of that, so that was a housing bust. And then after that, it was a commodity bust. So oil prices started going down. All these other commodities started falling apart. Um, and then shortly after that, then we had the financial crisis, which basically stemmed from the housing crisis. Um, and then all the world had to take on the bankers' debt. Had to bail out a lot of banks, um, and so I'm just seeing it over and over and over again. People who keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, but expect a different result, are fucking insane. If you're following the same cycle here, and you're expecting a different result, like you're expecting to come out on top, and you could, if you know what you're doing, if you know what's really going on. But if you're doing the same thing as you did as the previous things that I've mentioned with the dot-com bust, the housing bust, the commodity bust, financial bust. If you're following that same pattern and you're expecting something different, you're insane. I'm going to tell you right now, you're insane. You need to check yourself into a mental institution or get in contact with a psychiatrist and start realizing that making the same mistake over and over again, you're going to get the same result. And if you're doing the same thing and expecting something different, there's something wrong with you. So, anyways, I talked to him, and I and I could see why he would be interested because the same thing was almost said about Bitcoin when it first started. It had no use, there was nothing there, and he was a early adopter back when it was in the single digits. Bitcoins was in single digits, so maybe his experience would tell him something different because I came after that. I came in only 2013, but I follow a specific set of kind of my own rules, and it's just for me it's different. I'm looking for something that is proven and works for me, and something I can use right now. And so And that one thing right now is just Bitcoin. So until these other coins can actually, you know, be proven, have use, and something I can use for myself and benefit right now, I won't really get involved with it. Um, I usually recommend that to other people, whether they listen to me or not. I don't know. So, anyways, some of the hold on. All right, sorry about that. I'm back. So one of the things I'm looking at here is the coin market cap. You can see right there it says coin market cap. So one of the things I did want to see was what's the market cap, how many coins are out there, and their value to overall market cap. And you see Bitcoin up here as being almost 7 billion right here, and at about almost at 15.5 million Bitcoins. And then if you look at the volume, you'll see it's 50 million. Or is it 50 billion? 50 billion. Let me see. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, okay, 50 million. And then you'll see the chart here, and it's going down. It's almost taking somewhat of an opposite effect of Ethereum right there, which this is Ethereum right here. So, and then if you look at Ethereum, you see it's gone up in market cap value. It's gone up to the second spot, and it's at a billion right now, and that's the current price per Ether coin. But look how many Ethers there are. There's like 80 million Ethers and counting. And it's gonna count, and it's gonna keep going that way. And so, and it's gonna increase. Like, very simple to Ripple. Ripple's that way too. And that's why you see a ridiculous amount of ripples out there, and look what the price of Ripple is. I can understand why the financial institutions, the bankers, or the people, peddling blockchain technology to the bankers. I can understand why they like Ether, because the Ethereum model is very similar to the fiat currency model. It's something that they understand, something they can pitch to the old world. Hold on. Sorry about that. Gotta come back. But basically, yeah, I can understand why. All right, hold on. All right, I'm back. All right, so I could understand now why, like, these entities, these organizations, these companies that peddle or pander to the old world system, I can understand now why they like Ethereum so much, or maybe involved in Ethereum, or really pushing Ethereum, is because that model seems to be very similar to the old world system, in which you're reducing, you're diluting the value, and you're being forced to stay in that platform if you want to continue to maintain your value, and maybe even increase it by getting others to come into it. And so, that's just my opinion. That's what I see. If you have other opinions, or you disagree with me, feel free to comment. Feel free to make a video and all that. I'm not trying to do anything, like, I'm not trying to hate or anything. It's just an observation that I'm making. And if I'm wrong on my observation, please let me know. If there's something am I missing something? Because when I said this DUA hasn't done nothing, I mean, am I missing something? Does somebody want to fill me in on something that's going to DUA? This DUA is going to actually DUA something? So, I was just trying to make fun. I'm just making fun. I'm sure it will do, this DUA will eventually DUA something. But I'm just going to wait until it actually does something. This DUA actually does something. and it better be damn impressive, because if it's just a way to crowd fund, if this DUA crowdfunding, if this DUA crowdfunding is nothing more than a crowdfund that basically is another crowdfund, it's nothing more than the blind leading the blind here, in my honest opinion. Okay, if this platform, this DUA, DOA, or some people say DAO, or when I look at it, it looks like a DUA. If this DUA crowdfund is nothing more than a crowdfund in and of itself, so it's a crowdfund that's nothing more than a crowdfund that's nothing more than a crowdfund and a crowdfund and another crowdfund. It's nothing more than the blind leading the blind leading the blind leading the blind. I mean, that's just my observation. That's what I'm concluding, because I don't know what else to conclude. And if you got a different opinion, write a comment, make a video response, make more videos that explain what the hell the DUA does. And then if I can understand it, then I'm with you. I'm right there. All right? I'm right there, because I understand Bitcoin, I understand how it works, and I understand how it benefits me. But this whole Ethereum platform and the DUA crowdfunding and what exactly it does and how it's going to benefit me. I mean, people, when people get caught up in trends so much, and people get caught up in the crowd, they start having, and I know you've heard this before, and I'll say it again, irrational exuberance. The crowd, in general, they can be right about things. Okay? As a group, as a crowd, when you make decisions, you can be right. You can be right before even the experts are right. But there's also the flip side. And I don't think people realize the flip side. The flip side is...
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Sorry about that. I cut back in here. So, God, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyways, God, what was I going to say? Totally forgot. Sorry about that. Anyways, I'm not sure what's going on. I mean, if people can explain to me how Ethereum in this physical world is going to help me, because it's no good if it's all virtual and it doesn't match up with reality, because reality and virtual reality are one and the same. If virtual reality starts taking off and straying away from physical reality, I'm afraid that you've become delusional. I know I have delusions of grandeur. Like, I talk about a lot of stuff with Bitcoin, but I know one thing for sure is that I'm on the path of achieving my goals with Bitcoin, both in virtual reality and in physical reality, because they match. All right, it's almost like double book, triple entry, double entry accounting, right? You got what should be there and what's really there. They match. With Ethereum, I'm just not seeing that. I'm seeing a virtual reality here that's taken off like crazy and is doing a lot of things virtually, but the physical reality of it does not match the virtual reality. And obviously, the virtual reality has gone off into a tangent, and a lot of people are riding that tangent. And when that tangent comes back to reality, or starts reflecting back to reality, there's a couple things that has to happen. Either that virtual reality takes off, and then the physical reality will follow it, or that virtual reality takes off, and that physical reality ain't going nowhere. Guess what? that virtual reality is going to come back to reality. You're going to come back to reality. And if there's nothing there, physical world, in reality, physical reality, guess what? That virtual reality is also nothing there. So, anyways, irrational exuberance. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, I remember. Crowds can be right. All right. I believe that crowds, in general, make right decisions in general. But when they become irrational, the crowd starts making irrational decisions. And when you make irrational decisions, there's a good chance that you're not going to be on the right side of this trade or of this decision or on this, whatever this is. So my message to all you Ethereans out there is, if you wanted to make it work, if you really are a true believer in Ether and Ethereum, and if you are a true Etherean and you want to make Ethereum real and bring it out to reality for the rest of the world, guess what? You're gonna have to work and build the infrastructure and protect your network, protect your blockchain, because since I've been involved in Bitcoin, I have been personally, I haven't been physically attacked. Like no one's tried to gun me down, yet. But that's why I own so many guns, because I don't anticipate. I'm not waiting for someone to gun me down. I'm gonna pull my gun out and I'm gonna shoot back. And I'm not doing this because I'm a gun lover. I do love guns, by the way. I do it because this is the physical reality. That when something becomes valuable and other people see the value in it, other people will come to rob you. They'll come to hack you. They will come, these attackers, they'll come in many shapes and forms. They will defraud you. They will lie to you. They will trick you. And I think that hasn't really happened yet. But once you reach a point where you start attracting a lot of attention, and I'm telling you, Ethereans are starting to attract a lot of attention. All the things that you're doing, all the things that the hype, it's attracting a lot of attention. And with that attention, you're gonna get hackers, you're gonna get attackers, you're gonna get people who are gonna test the network. All right, and if they can, they will take your ethers. They'll take your ether and they will they'll rob you blind. And so I don't think that has come yet. But as the more hype there is, as the price goes up, the value, the market cap starts rising, you'll probably start experiencing some of that. So I hope you Ethereans are prepared, and you've set up a good defense for yourself, that you're able to protect yourself. And not only that, but you're also able to actually build the physical network, the physical infrastructure for others. All right. If you want your platform to be the platform, all right, I hope you all can start building the infrastructure for mass adoption, because right now there is none. There is none. But people said that about Bitcoin, right? So I'm just making this video because I think people should know what they're getting into. And if you're okay with that, fine. I mean, a lot of people have gone into it. A lot of people are considering going into it. Me, on the other hand, I'll wait. I prefer to wait to the point where it's actually gonna almost has something or already has something going on, and it's about to really explode, that's when I like to get involved. That's when I'll start doing something. But until then, I'm staying where I am because it's already there for me. So that's the reason why I haven't done anything. I mean, I can. I've got accounts at all the exchanges, or most of the exchanges that offer Ether. I can easily just buy Ether. But at this point in time, I just don't understand it. Or my understanding of it is what I've told you already, and it basically that's the same reason I won't get involved in it. Just me. I mean, y'all can do whatever you all want to do. I'm not going to stop you. So, um, anyways, the crowd, the crowd can be wrong, all right? And when they're wrong, they are dead wrong. So just because you're trying to follow the crowd, I don't like following the crowds. Either I'm in it before the crowd or I'm in it after the crowd. Because what I do is either I help start building the infrastructure for the crowd, or I. Oop, there's a Bitcoin chart there for some reason. And yes, I'm still trading. There we go, market cap. Sorry about that. Or I pick up the pieces after the crowd. Those are two things I do. I'm never in the crowd. If anything I've learned is if when you're in the crowd, you have a high chance of getting run over by the crowd. All right, you're gonna get more damage done by the crowd itself than anything else. So I just want to say what I want to say, and I say this for my benefit, but also your benefit as well. And if you watch this and you still want to do whatever you want to do, that's fine. But you should know or have a perspective other than the the Ethereum crowd's perspective, because their perspective is that it'll probably take over Bitcoin, it'll go to the moon, and it's gonna take over the world, in which it's the greatest thing ever since Bitcoin, or even better than Bitcoin, and it'll be wonderful, and the banks will love it, and they're gonna like it because it has been used for the dark markets. And if you don't think that Ether if it gets popular enough, it's not gonna be used by the dark markets, you're gonna be wrong. If it does what it says it does, which is smart contracts, you don't think the dark markets are gonna get involved. And when it does, you don't think that all of a sudden you're gonna see Ethereans getting arrested, being put in jail, being persecuted and prosecuted. You don't think that's going to happen? Anyways, let me end this video. I know it's a little bit long, but I'll go ahead and end this episode. Feel free to like, dislike, leave a video response. Like, dislike, or leave a comment, or do a video response. Until next time, stay tuned.